Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our pumpkin adventure and all that went on with planting pumpkins and tending to the pumpkins and just kind of like what happened from start to finish. So I'm going to put in a couple clips that kind of go through our process of our first time doing pumpkins. So the goal is to plant quite a few different varieties. And we're also going to mix some of this popcorn corn in the middle. But the goal is to do a couple different varieties and then have people come and pick your own pumpkins. So when we first planted our pumpkins, our overall idea was to have them as pick your own, like a big 1 acre field where people could come in and they could just pick whatever pumpkin that they wanted. And so with that train of thought, we kind of started planning, where do we want to put them? We decided to plant them on one of our upper fields along our driveway where they could just get out and go pick their own pumpkins. That was our thought, and it was all supposed to work out just perfectly, beautifully.
That's definitely pumpkin.
We're up here checking on the pumpkins. And I just spotted the first ones. Look at them. Yay! We have pumpkins. But you can see the rain really did a number in between the rows.
But this one's a little bit sad.
Got a little bit sad. Yeah, that's not a pumpkin, but sweet. Here's the deer hoof prints.
What is it?
Right there.
What?
Eli, Harper, and I are out here checking on the pumpkins after the past 2 big rainstorms. It's pretty muddy, but I don't know if you guys can see, especially in the first row that we did and the second row, all the little baby pumpkins coming on up. So we were running out of steam and time hand hoeing each hill for the pumpkins. So Levi is using the potato plow and going down both sides to make hills. And then we're gonna have the rest. And then it'll be much easier to go through and plant the rest of our seeds. But the ones that we do have in the ground look so happy. All the way up to the top, to the road. So you can tell the wind really whipped them. And I think another round of storms is headed our way. But the water just came pouring down through here. We're not too worried about these first 3 rows. They're pretty well established. But those next couple rows, the plants are pretty small. Doesn't look too awful though. So as you can see, our first 3 rows are doing the poorest out of all the pumpkins. Then we had the deer come through and almost obliterate part of this row. They're starting to sprout back at the bottom. That's when we decided to bring in the bone sauce and try that out. What'd you find?
A pumpkin. I think he's big.
Yeah.
A little tiny one.
I found quite a few, but that's the biggest one I've seen so far. Harpy's got all the animals over here. So as I mentioned earlier, due to the nature and location of where we planted them, it was very difficult to manage keeping the deer out of them. And fencing in 16 acres is going to be a big, financial undertaking. And so, our plan is just to fence in the areas that we need first. So all of these factors played into it being a little bit challenging to maintain the pumpkins. What we found is that a lot of the pumpkins did not reach their full potential, I think, of like maturity. A lot of them are like that big, and they're supposed to be like Connecticut field pumpkins or Big Max pumpkins, like big, hefty pumpkins. Because that was the whole goal, is that anything that we didn't sell, we would be able to feed back to our pigs that we just got.
Oh, I thought it would be like hit that one.
Yeah, so that was a little bit disappointing, but overall, they did well. They did okay, other than just not reaching their full potential. And I think a lot of that has to do with they were inundated with squash bugs. Just literally swarms of them. The dog is chasing the rabbit.
I keep knocking into.
Everyone meet Senorita Celery. This is Milo's new BFF. And our male is...
And this is my new present.
So here's what we learned for next year. We're going to plant our plants further apart. Our rows are going to be much further apart. And we are going to move our pumpkin patch to right in front of our house, literally in front of our house. So if any deer come, we're able to see them, and hopefully our dog should bark. Also, we are going to plant clover as a cover crop in between the rows, which Levi did do as an experiment in some of the areas that we had, but it just wasn't soon enough. So the grass pretty much just took over all the other areas. We are also going to, hopefully with all of those things, planting them further apart, having bigger actual rows, getting the cover crop of clover or whatever it may be down, that will help us to be able to actually get in and see the plants and go ahead and give them a neem oil treatment even before they get any bugs, because I don't want to play with the squash bugs next year. I don't. And hopefully that will give us the upper hand at moving forward with, pumpkin growing. We also decided that we'll be using different fodder crops next year in addition to growing pumpkins. And hopefully that will help to supplement for our animals and for ourselves if need be. But overall, learning how to plant and tend to and nurture the pumpkins was such a great experience. Overall, we probably ended up with 800 to 1,000 total pounds of pumpkins. And again, we did that on just about an acre of our land. And although it didn't turn out exactly how we planned, the pumpkins will continue to provide for our animals through some of the winter months.